Hello friends, welcome back here to the Twitch stage at Gamescom 2015. I'm Anna Prosser-Robinson, joined by Rachel Seltzer-Quirico, and our friend Garth, who is here to talk to us about XCOM 2. Garth, how are you?
I am doing excellent. It's awesome to be back and talking to you again.
Yeah, we actually got to speak a little bit at E3, so I'm really excited to hear what kind of new stuff you have to show us. But first, for people who might not be familiar with the XCOM universe, can you give us a brief rundown of what XCOM 2 is?
Yeah, definitely. So XCOM 2 is the sequel to XCOM Enemy Unknown, which released in 2012. It is really a beast of a game and a series that has high-level strategy elements where you're sort of fending off this alien war and making huge, sweeping global decisions. But then you also control from a very low level the tactical portions as well, where you're boots on the ground, controlling your squad, and wiping out aliens, firing every bullet, taking every move. It's a cool mix of the two.
Yeah, and the things that I love watching specifically about this game are how customizable all of your colleagues are and your weapons are and everything. So, we talked a lot about these things at E3, but what's new? What do you have to show us here at Gamescom?
So at E3, we showed you the procedural maps and how tactical gameplay can be different every single time. We really wanted to over-deliver on the fact that maps could be exhausted in Enemy Unknown, so now we're saying you will see a limitless amount of maps. Here, we want to talk about the strategy portion. That was one half of the game. This is the second half of the game. It is a huge game, and so we wanted to talk about how that is changing a lot. XCOM 2, really thematically, because this takes place 20 years into the future, and our lore is that you lost in Enemy Unknown. A lot of people lost, so you're now a resistance. Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and you're now a resistance movement that has to rebuild XCOM from the ground up, and that's the perfect stage that sets these steep odds against the player, and getting to that triumph and overcoming those odds is the key. So on the strategy layer, we're going to talk about some of those mechanics that really feeds into that. Oh,
cool. And you brought some gameplay for us, right? So let's go ahead and roll that. We can check that out. And you're going to talk us through what we're seeing, right?
Yeah, so we're going to show our strategy layer. This is actually one of the public world reveals, I believe, of strategy, which is really exciting. You're going to get a sense of the new amp farm in a moment. This is one of our new key characters, and so we're going to be peeling back the layers on the narrative and story a little bit too. That's Dr. Richard Teigen. If you remember from Enemy Unknown, we had Dr. Valen, who was our scientist. She is lost following the events of Enemy Unknown. We don't know her whereabouts. We don't know where she is. But this guy was recruited from the Advent administration, which is the New World Order that the aliens have to occupy Earth. And he sort of came to the good side. He saw some of the morally ambiguous things that were happening, and we were lucky to recruit him. And he's the tip of the spear for science with XCOM. So you see, this is his facility. This is one of the key anchors that we had in Enemy Unknown, where Valen would do research. Now this is Dr. Teigen who's doing that. He is your leader for the tech tree, and the tech tree drives everything.
Wow.
So this is a look at our new amp farm. We have some other footage that we'll be showing elsewhere as well, but this is now above ground. In XCOM Enemy Unknown, you were a static base underground. Now you are a flying mobile Avenger, and you have to do that to be able to galvanize and spark the resistance around the world. You got to be able to fly. This is an example of our staffing and facility system, which is expanded from Enemy Unknown as well. You see, we just actually staffed somebody. The guy on the right came in, and he's tending to one of our wounded soldiers. Because you put him there, he'll recover faster. So you actually have tangible staff now, unlike Enemy Unknown, where you can place them all around in this ant farm, and you start seeing them buzz to life and doing unique things gameplay-wise. So this is our new chief engineer. This is Lily Shen. If you played Enemy Unknown, you would remember we had Dr. Raymond Shen, and Raymond Shen was her father. He did die after the events of Enemy Unknown, but his last life work was to find this derelict alien vessel, which is what you're in right now, and he is reverse engineering it and refactoring it to become XCOM's mobile base. His daughter has been with him step by step, and she's carrying on his legacy right now. So this is the first moment where she meets the commander, which is the player. She's telling you all about the Avenger, how you can use this to your purposes to sort of spark the resistance, and this is sort of her intro.
So there's a lot of continuity between the first XCOM and this one story-wise.
Yeah, there is. That's something that we really wanted to touch on. Even though XCOM is very much an open-ended strategy game, there is narrative that's part of XCOM's DNA, which is unlike some other strategy games. We're really proud of that. So there's an epic story that you're going to go through, and you're going to be connected to these to these NPCs as well as your soldiers that you alluded to earlier that can be whoever you want.
I get so connected to the characters in this game because you are the one leading them, so you feel kind of responsible for them. So that's something that's really fun. I'm looking forward to being connected to those NPCs as well.
Yes, yes, and there's a lot of interesting new things that you can do with those characters as well. This is an example of one of our new facilities. This is the Proving Grounds, and this really feeds into the whole nature of the strategy game. We want it to be more unpredictable. We want it to be far less linear. You don't know what you're going to get, and you have to adjust your strategies on the fly. In this facility, for instance, you can set your engineers to undergo projects. It can be experimental ammo, experimental armor, perhaps experimental grenades. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. It's a little bit of like item roulette, weapon roulette. It's going to be something cool and something awesome, but it changes every time you play. So we just assigned an engineer in there. You saw him res in to the middle of the room, and now he's working on experimental ammo. And after a set number of days pass, you'll then get that to be able to deploy and take on the battlefield. This is our guerrilla tactics school, and this is where you can assign your soldiers to get stronger, both from a squad level, but different from Enemy Unknown. This is also on an individual level. So here we're assigning a rookie, and we're actually going to make them a class on the outset. The cost is it's going to be some time, but we're making this guy a ranger. In Enemy Unknown, you didn't have the ability to set your class. You can now do that if you want to.
Cool. I'm amazed by the detail that you guys have put into this. I love, first of all, your alien.
Oh yeah, did you see the punching bags?
The punching bags there. Just to make sure this is what they look like. This is.
That's right. You got to pump up the resistance, right? Get them practicing on it before they go out in the battlefield. But yeah, I mean, the team did such a phenomenal job of the fidelity level. You see these rooms come to life, and it's connected to gameplay, which is really cool. As you staff them, you then see these guys come in and start doing some work. So you start feeling that sense of things buzzing and coming to life. This is an example of our specialist, and she just was promoted to the specialist class. So you might have noticed the gremlin with Shen, the little buddy floating over her shoulder. That gremlin can do a lot of really cool things on the battlefield. We haven't had anything like this in the XCOM universe, where the gremlin can hack enemies. Perhaps they can sort of be a buff or healing unit or a scout. So a lot of cool new stuff. I feel like I'm talking too fast, but
that's great.
Because there's
so
such cool new stuff. And Anna, for your soldiers, now this is a bit of a resistance ragtag. You can make them a little rougher, a little gruffer.
Ooh.
You can see here we have tattoos.
The scale of this game is blowing my mind.
You're building a spaceship
and you're choosing his tattoos.
Yes, you're choosing his tattoos. This guy has a scar because he just got clawed from a chrysalid in a retaliation mission, and he's one of your veterans, so they can now have scars. If you want to make your husband a hard luck guy or happy-go-lucky guy, you can do that. You can change their demeanor as well. And that's all part of the emergent soldier system, where we want you to feel more connection to those soldiers. So their idle animations will actually change.
Oh, interesting. And that you were talking about the connection you feel, and Rachel, you were saying the kind of robustness of these. I mean, these could be represented just by menus of what you're upgrading and things, but instead you're seeing it and engaging with it and being in it. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
I can see how you become attached to these characters. You are in their business, to do anything in this game.
You are, and you are literally responsible for their life or death. So you get this attachment, and that's something we haven't even touched on, but weapon upgrades is brand new. You can now customize weapons, how they look and how they play. You can put weapon attachments on them. So your family or friends might have this unique sniper rifle that does something unlike any other sniper rifles. And if they happen to die, you can grab that sniper rifle off the battlefield and pass it on to somebody else. So they sort of have a legacy weapon that continues going.
Grandmother's sniper rifle.
Right. Yes.
Well, we all love looting the bodies in games, even if even over our poor dead comrades.
Well, and I've learned they die. You could drag them back home, so you don't even lose their.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You can actually carry bodies off and loot. This is our resistance spokesman. If you may remember him from Enemy Unknown, the councilman, sort of the shady character. He is now playing sort of a role that the player will have to uncover, but he's feeding you information now that there's a resistance to be bred globally. And he sort of understands where the different cells are, gives you some intel on where to go, and that's what we're going to get into next with how the geoscape has blown wide open and come to life in many, many different ways now. So in Enemy Unknown, after you did all that stuff where you would set your research, decide what item you want to build, then you would go to the geoscape and hit scan time and wait for a mission. This is far more dynamic now. It's far more unpredictable, where you are choosing, since you have a mobile base, where you want to go. Do you want to make contact with regions to spread the resistance? If you do that, that comes at the cost of going for other resources strategically. You might get things like resistance rumors that you can go to instead of making contact. You can search for things like a black market, which allows you to trade and then do other things like rush research. And all of that changes from game to game, which we're really proud of. We really want the strategy layer to feel more unpredictable than Enemy Unknown, where every time you go into a new game of XCOM, you may have a strategy in mind, but it might change on you. You might get a wrench thrown in those plans because of the randomness of the strategy layer. We want players to be able to adapt and also deal with the hand that they're dealt as well. The aliens are actually playing their own game as well.
Oh.
So you'll see in a minute or so, but they have this thing called Dark Events. And that is a really, really cool system that obviously they have a long-term goal that you have to uncover through the story of they're trying to do this nefarious thing to humans, and you'll learn about that. But they also have short-term goals where they may say, you know what, we're going to make our Advent troops stronger by giving them higher armor on the battlefield, and now they can also shoot venom rounds at you. And that translates to the battlefield. And these are dark events that you can counter if you choose to spend time to stop them from doing that. You can't stop them all. If you choose to stop the Advent one, they may go for another dark event that allows them to launch UFOs and chase and hunt down the Avenger. So there are dozens of these that can actually, this is the dark event system right here. These are a few examples where you say, okay, they're working towards Hunt XCOM. They're also working toward this Advent alloy padding, which will make the enemy stronger. Which one do I want to start mitigating? You can't mitigate all of them, but you can mitigate one of them. And that's all part of the decision process, which is way, way more in depth than Enemy Unknown.
And that's starting to get toward real life. You know, you can't do everything. You have to choose your priorities.
It is a good lesson in life. It is.
This is when we can learn things from games that will be applicable to our real lives.
Yes.
Well, to further that lesson, so you're presenting with these two options I can stop, and presumably it's going to take up a lot of the aliens' time to go after it. What if I choose lazy? And I'm just like, go aliens. Like, does that stop? You know, like, I'll get you 20 turns from now.
I respect your boldness.
Yeah?
I mean, you can do that. You might lose the world, and everyone will say, we are sad that you commanded us in such a way. But no, you can do that. You don't have to go for every dark event, and in fact, you can't. So, but then you have to figure out how to cope with that. You know, if you let the aliens create those venom rounds and create the hit points and the armor of those units, you better darn well have leveled up. You might want to rush weapon technology, for instance, to be able to counter that.
Grand plan, right? I'm letting them funnel into one thing and then, you know, circling around later.
Yeah, there could be longer-term plans. That's one of the things I love so much about the strategy layer. You can sort of not ignore, but deprioritize dark events and certain techs you go for, and instead spend your time trying to spread the resistance and see that blossom as quickly as possible, because that will then allow you to go for the end game condition faster if you can take out the alien facilities, which feed into the end game mechanic.
I'm hearing you talk a lot about feedback that you got on the first XCOM and how you've implemented that here.
Yeah.
What were some of the most important pieces of those feedback, and what kind of players have been really attracted to your game?
Yeah, I mean, there were two pieces, and E3 addressed the procedural maps. We got loud and clear feedback that the fans loved our maps, but they wanted more. The second piece of feedback was what we're talking about right now. There was some feedback that people really liked the strategy layer, but once you did it a few times, it was like, okay, we kind of get it. We kind of get the key route to victory, and we really wanted to shake that up. And that's what we're doing with all this stuff that we talked about, where it is so unpredictable, it feels unwieldy, and it makes a lot of sense in the context of the world, since it's now alien occupied. The position of power has been flipped. So the mechanics represent that. There's a little bit more chaos in a good way going on in the world, and you have to take that back and straighten it all out while you're trying to take back Earth. And that means different strategies to do so.
And so the type of player that would really like this game is a mixture of maybe cerebral and what? Yeah,
definitely cerebral, somebody that enjoys strategy, but there is something there for everyone. I mean, my DNA is more, I love strategy games, I love tactical squad-based games, but I also love action games, high-fidelity visual games. I mean, when you play tactical and go down in the map, when you play on a high-end PC, the visuals can stand up with almost any other game. So you have these awesome cinematic cameras that really pull you in this visceral, close way where you feel like you're directing an action movie as opposed to just playing a strategy game. So it really does, at the risk of sounding cliche, it really does have something for everyone.
Oh, well, I believe it. This looks pretty robust. Did we see all of the gameplay, or did we miss anything?
I think we saw most of it. We did. Right. We did. I mean, there's a few other goodies that I think people will see around the corner, but we got to talk on most of it, yeah.
Is there anything that we can tease that people should be looking forward to?
Yes, we can. So you saw the Hunt UFO Dark event? Uh-huh. You may be in danger of being shot out of the sky if you make decisions to fly to contact new regions. So if you piss off the aliens a little too much, you have to watch out for that. And if you do get shot down, there may be a special mission type that you have to undergo to counter that.
Ooh, okay. Well, stay tuned for that. And in order to stay tuned, where is the best place for people to go for more information about this game?
You can go to XCOM.com. Okay. Has a bunch of information. We release in November on PC. And we can't wait. Can't wait for people to play it.
Well, I can't either. Thank you so much, Garth. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah.
Guys, be sure to check out XCOM 2, and we will be right back with more games for you.